So they're part of it. I have a bunch of other goodies too that are going to add to the town. So that's definitely what's going to happen. Is my connection okay? It's saying slow connection here since we haven't been doing this. Give you a tour of the workbench a little bit, and that kind of fun stuff. So just move this out of the way. I did have fun with that little M8 patrol car. That was a lot of fun building that. But okay, so let's move this to somewhere so it doesn't get all boogered up. All right, so we're at our workbench. Whoa. Look at all the dirty stuff from my moss I was doing. All right, that's embarrassing. But if anybody knows me, knows that I hate clutter and dirt. So little cleanup. Sorry about that. If that hurt your ears. All right, so I'm working these two lamps. I'm not going to move them around too much here, but we'll get them out of the way. One of the things that I like to do is lately I've been working with is, and if you haven't, Bernard will probably agree with this. One of the best things to paint with is a wet palette. And what does a wet palette do? It locks down and secures the air, keeps it airtight. It's a box, basically an airtight box. Inside it will be a sponge underneath, okay, and it's filled with water. You can see the wetness on this side of it, and it is on the other side, believe it or not. And then when it starts to lose its wetness, I will take a water bottle with distilled water, and I will just kind of run it along the edges a little bit real quick, just to try and give it a little moisture, you know. I don't want to really spend too much out on it, just kind of moisten the paper. So what's it do, Todd? Oh, that's great. You share this. But what it does, and for Bernard and painting little, lots of little figures and people and animals and such with his company, you'll go through a lot of different paints, and you'll be switching from one to the next to the one to the next, and you'll be using some of the same ones repetitively. And even that's not just for miniatures, like figures, but it's also for the structure I just built or showed you. I don't know how many times I changed this out. And I'm going to show you how to make your own tonight, cheaply. You can buy one like this. This one cost me on Amazon for, I think it was like $9, okay? But I'm going to show you how to make one from your own household goods. And I like this one that I've been using, but okay, basically this here piece is really nothing but like a parchment paper. You know, that you would use. Let me find my parchment paper, a bar roll for this very purpose. Just some cheap parchment paper like this. It's not wax paper. It's parchment paper, and you can cut it. It's the same exact stuff you can buy in the sheets to fit the pieces, the ones they buy commercially. It's the same thing, parchment paper. You soak it on both sides and stick it right in there, and fit it to your wet palette. The wet palette, what it allows you to do is close it up when you're not using it and save it for later on. Okay, maybe later that day, maybe an extra day. Okay, you could let it go for days and days without having to do a change of your paper. But it's so simple. I will just take a paint, for example. This is dark sea blue. Dark sea blue, any of these types of paints, I will put it over here. You'll see off to the corner of your left here, you have, this is my paint mixer. And I'll hold it on there upside down for about 10 or 15 seconds. And then on the bottom, for another 10 or 15 seconds, it creates a vortex in the bottle of paint and stirs it and mixes it thoroughly through. Okay, this little baby is maybe $25-$30 if you find one on Amazon, maybe I'll put a link up somewhere to help people find that. It's made by Arnie Lab. And then I just take my paint and I'll drop a single drop or two in here, so as not to waste it, just to show you. I want to mix that eventually. Let's say I'm doing some kind of a tropical leaf or something like that. It's and we'll mix that up as well here real quick. Now I haven't gotten a chance to put a ball bearing in these bottles, but I like to open them up. I'll do one right now. I like to open them up, get the paint off the tip here so you don't get it over your hands, and it just kind of pries up. There's a cap. The cap kind of pries up like this. Okay, one of these bottles, you probably already have some, but easy to open up. Give yourself a little ball bearing. You can buy these stainless steel ball bearings from some of the paint companies that manufacture the paint, like Army Painter, or I think they all are making them now. You'll probably be able to find it from Vallejo. You'll probably be able to find it from, I know you can get them from MIG Ammo or Ammo MIG, and you can get them from AK Interactive. Anybody that makes these little bottles, these 17 milliliter bottles, anybody makes these. So once we'll sell the little ball bearings, but at at Hobby Lobby, see that? This is like a bead, and it's made out of hermalite or something like that. I'll find out the name exactly. They come in a big long string full of these beads, and that stuff does not get funky when you put it in the paint. I mean, it won't rust. You're not going to get that breakdown of it. This particular material holds up real well, and it's like $1.99, and you get like 100 of them. So you just cut the string that they're on. They're in the bead section, and you can drop them in as well. They work wonderful. They're made basically of the same thing that the stainless steel is. So I put one in, and every time I have new bottles, and then I'll get a pen, and it's real simple, and I'll put a check mark on it. Check mark. So that means I know this one already has one of those little mixing balls in it, ready to rock. Alright? So, I do that. It's just a little tricky thing I do just to help me mix my paints. Okay? These things are cheap, and it's always good to have them on hand. So, I take my extra drop, and I'll put that next to this one, or close to it. Okay? Little yellow, little green. I'll take a paintbrush and put it in some water. I use 2 bottles or 2 mixing jars of water, not mixing, the rinse. They call them brush tanks, but my rinse tanks. I don't care if you use a coffee cup or you can use that coffee pot that Brett uses. And I just get some water on it, even though there's water in this thing. Okay, just to wet my brush. Let me work from the other side here. There we go. And then I will take my brush and dip it in. I want to dip it and drag it a little bit, and I get just enough paint on that barrel or that brush without getting into the ferrule. The ferrule is this part here, the metal part, and we do not want to get any paints up in there, because what will happen is once you get the paint up in there and it starts to dry as you work, and you don't ever get it back out of there when you clean it. If you don't clean it out entirely properly, what happens is your paintbrush will spread out, and it'll look like it'll start doing this, and it'll fan out. Okay, and you'll never get it back in because there's paint down there, and it'll dry, and then it won't come out of this ferrule. So you can relegate those kind of paintbrushes to the junk brushes for doing weird oddball things. Okay, but here with this, there's water underneath this. So as I'm dragging it out and keeping it in the center of my brush, I'm also adding water to it by dragging it out. Okay, it's thinning out that paint. So, or I can add a drop of water. Where's mine? Without thinning out the whole batch of it, you add a drop or two as a kind of heavy drop, and then drag it over and just kind of work right here. And you can make it thin as a wash, or you can make it thick as a paint, as your surface paint or your base paint. Okay. Or your, what do they call that? Your primary color. So, if you have the other paintbrush near it, or the other paint color near it, and you say you're going to mix, it allows you to mix right here on your wet palette to get the color that you're looking for, but without ruining the rest of your paint. So now I got myself a nice little green going on here. And I wash it out, and and I need to go back to the yellow, and I can draw that out this way, and I can just work with the yellow. So this allows me to base my paint and save it for another day too. So I just did this stuff yesterday. Now it's 100-some degrees, so it's pretty much dry and useless at this point. Sometimes, generally, you have a day to work with it. But if you're going to go and have dinner and come back, whatever, when you're done with it, it's easy to clean up. I just peel it up, toss it out. Now I have pre-cut sheets for this particular one. I can add a whole mess of different paints onto this and just keep working and working and working. I would soak this in water first and then stick it down. It fits right in. Or you can cut a piece of parchment paper when you run out of the stuff they gave you with the thing. It's probably 50 or 100 sheets. And stop using the commercial stuff. You'll start using the parchment. But I'll soak this in water at the sink, bring it back, and then lay it in at least. Perfectly flat on that sponge. Okay? I can add paints all the way down, and I can paint what I need to without ever having to, wash out a palette. I can thin my paints out better in this than I can in a palette, and it allows me to get the proper mixture amount of paint. It's very easy to learn and figure out how to do that. But we want to make sure we get our brushes cleaned out. So here's another hint for cleaning out a brush. We're gonna go back to this palette and how to make your own in a moment. But I'm going to show you something cool. When I clean my brush and I want it to stay on a point, okay, so I will just kind of twist it and get it to a very fine point the way it was before and shape it. And then one of the biggest problems with these things where you clean the brushes and the brush racks that I got back here is look how you have to store them. You have to store them upright. But if I want my point to stay and it's wet, I want my point to go downward. So to go downward, these racks are inefficient in that way. They're great for storing, but they're not great for drying. Now, they make one of these, and it was like a metal cup over at most of the art supply stores, at Michael's or Hobby Lobby, and you can hang your brush from this little wire rack, or it's like a little spring thing, and you slide it in. But my wife had a better idea recently. She came up with, I was trying to figure out how to hang my stuff upside down without having to buy another freaking paint jar, a wash jar with a spring on it. And she decided to do this. Hold on, we're going to go up here and we're going to show you. So as we go up, we have a pool noodle. So I got a pool noodle at the dollar store for $1.99, and I cut little slits into it, and I can just slide my paintbrush into it like that, and let it hang upside down so I don't lose my tip and my point. Okay, so I have a pool noodle that I cut, and I cut on the back side of it. I put slits in it, and on the back side of it, I put one long slit to fit it onto this wire shelving rack. So, and by the way, here's more military kits that need to be built, just for your amusement. But yeah, so this was made out of a pool noodle, and it cost me $1.99, and I only used, like, I don't know, it's maybe 10 inches, okay? And it'll hold all the paintbrushes I need it to. Yeah, it was pretty, Kevin, it was pretty cool. She just came up with that. We were sitting at the dining room table. She goes, "Why not use a pool noodle?" And I was like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And then I was like, that's a awesome idea, you know? So, anyhow, that's my wet palette. But I bought some stuff and I'm going to do a video on this. So I'm not going all out tonight on this. I bought this stuff to do a how-to video. But I'm going to show you people that are on now, because there's all 12 of you right now. We got to build this back up again, our show. But all you need to do this is a simple, there's two of these. I believe I got these at the dollar store. So it's $1.25. Okay. It's an airtight, reusable, rectangular lid. Okay, let's slide this off. I'll just break it off. You can get these at anywhere. And I got the wrong kind. Because, well, that's okay too. It can be as big as you want. I would get one without this centerpiece. I bought these things not knowing that there's a centerpiece in it. Now I feel like a moron tonight. But, you could put a small piece of sponge in there, and we go, well, what kind of sponge? Well, you can get these. They're called Swedish dishcloths. You can find them on Amazon or wherever. And basically, it is just a piece of sponge. Once you soak it, it puffs up like a sponge. You can cut it any size you need to fit in this size, and you only have a small side. You can put your water on this side, now that I'm thinking about it, and put some water in the base of this, just for rinsing your brush out. Put your cut piece of this. There's different colors of the sponge in there. Let me open that. What the hell? That's why I bought it. So, and then you put your sponge in there to cut the size. Let's do that. How many layers of plastic did they wrap on this? Well, I need the label, because I can show other people. When I do the video, I'm going to do an actual how-to video on YouTube for this. So, and I want it to be professional looking, so not this hurry up and let's just do it thing. Oh my God. Well, I will say the manufacturer packed this extremely heavy in plastic, so I guess it's going to hold up. Let's open them up. Let me get my scissors. In a little bit here, I'll give you a tour of the bench too, and other things I have that make my job a little easier and smoother to work with. But, okay. So here is one of those sponge pads. It looks like this, okay? Now if I soak it, I'm going to cut a little piece. Let's just cut a piece for now. I'm not cutting it to size on this thing yet. Soak it in the water. Okay. Fill it up. It's not going to be as thick as a normal giant ass sponge, but we're going to put it on the bottom. It's soaking wet. And I'll cut my parchment paper and lay it over top of this from a roll of regular grocery parchment paper. And you have your airtight lid. And you just close it up when you're done. You can come back later that day and your paint will still be fresh. Yeah, so there's that. You can buy anything. This was at Michael's. It was $1.99. It's also another airtight container. you could easily turn into a palette by putting a sponge down in it and a soaking sponge and your parchment paper. Okay, cut to fit. So you can do it that way. I bought this. I'm going to use it for something else, but a case like this, you could also close it and airtight lid it and fill it with the sponge and parchment paper. So you can make them basically out of just about anything. You ever see those Rocher chocolate candies? I saw somebody take one of them and make a wet palette out of it, and then they got to eat all the candy in it, which was pretty cool, you know. For them, I guess. I mean, I would. My doctor would be killing me for that. But yeah, I mean, these are good ways to make a wet palette. I now personally would never paint without a wet palette. It gives me so much versatility with my paint, so much control with my paint. I don't know if anybody else here uses a wet palette. Anybody? Yeah, Ron Kleiss has message structures are painted with techniques are done with washes. I use washes all the time. 90% of that stone front on that building I showed earlier is from washes. And what is a wash? Some of you guys that are beginners or whatever, it's a paint basically that just has more water added to it until you get it to the consistency that it's going to change. It's going to change what you're painting in color, but it's only going to do it in shades, okay, based on how thick or heavy or, you know, that you have those paint pigments in there. So if you add the water to it, those pigments thin out, and they allow you to get what you need on a wash. A wash can also be done with acrylics, okay? I'm not acrylics. It's best with acrylics in my book. You can do washes with, enamels, but washes with enamels are nice, but they tend to be, you better have it right the first time, or it may be ruined, okay? Now, you can thin it down with your mineral spirits and things like that, okay, and get it broken down a little bit. That's how I would thin down any wash to get consistency. I'm sorry. A lot of your pre-made washes that are done by big companies like Ammo MIG, or, for example, right here. So these are enamel washes. Okay, there's an enamel wash by Ammo MIG. I believe I have a AK wash as well. That's enamel, and that is wash for wood from AK Interactive. These washes are already pre-broken down. However, when you get them straight out of the bottle like that, they're strong, okay? You're gonna need to break them down when you work with these washes. And then it's easier to start light and keep building rather than to start big and ruin it, okay? Any modeler here that's online today can tell you that. So the enamel washes are awesome as well. But in a wet palette, that's what you want to use for acrylics. You're not using it for anything else but acrylics. Do not put your enamels in there. Do not put your Tamiya paints in there. Tamiya paints are, they say they're enamels, but nobody really knows what the hell they are. They're a mix of enamel and acrylic. I don't know what it is. You have to use special thinners for that stuff. I love Tamiya paints. I got a whole wall over here for them. But, and they're great for stuff. If you're just they're great to thin down too. But you need to know how to work with them. And you better not mix them with anything else other than Tamiya paints. I've found that the washes can be made from anything. So you can go out and buy this wash. But you can also take some black brown. Okay, so this is like basically enameled, I think it's a dark wash. There, dark wash on top. Okay? Or I can just take some German camo black brown, put it into my wet palette, We'll compare. Put it into my wet palette. I didn't even mix this, did I? Son of a gun. Sorry. I didn't shake it up or nothing. I'm over here mixing. Okay. Squeeze out a drop of this black brown. Add a little water. Oop, can you see? There we go. So add a little water to it. And a little more water. And guess what? I got my wash. There's a wash. When you start getting in this shade, you got to wash. Okay, any of this is a wash based on your darkness without going to the strict dark paint over here. So this is where I can get creative with how I control the flow of my paint. Now, I'm not going to put this on the wet palette, but I'm going to take some of this dark wash to show you. Shake it up real quick. This is the enamel. So the enamel wash is great because you'll have to thin it down with mineral spirits. But let's start it out dark. So there it is, dark. Let's get a good drop. So I'm using a paper towel here, which isn't probably the most brilliant thing. Okay, so got that. I'm going to wash that out in some mineral spirits. This is my dirty mineral spirits. I use it for general cleaning when I'm in a quick hurry to do that. Now I'm going to add some mineral spirits to it and drag it out. Okay, and so I'm getting the same. Actually, that was straight out of the bottle. So see how strong it is right off the bat. Now let me paint with it real quick on something other than that. Here we go. There's and drag it onto this. So we got in our wash. See our wash there? It doesn't come out as strong. I guess using the paper towel wasn't such a great idea, but it takes a lot more. It comes out super dark. It's harder to work with. However, once it's on and dry, it's on and dry. If I'm working with enamels over top of enamels, and I use a wash at the end, and I had enamels underneath. I'm sorry. If I'm working with acrylics underneath, and I use an acrylic wash on top, there's a good chance that I'm going to wash away my base coat underneath. So, because the water is going to reactivate that. Same with enamel. If I use enamel on enamel, it's going to take away, when I put the mineral spirits on it, it can take away what you've previously done work-wise. So that's why a lot of times I go on these models, whether for HO scale, things that we work with, or buildings and such, or if it's for the 135th scale military modeling I've been doing, or the game pieces for like gaming figures and such like that. It's best to layer. So you have your enamel, you put your acrylic base coat, then go to your enamel wash, or start with an enamel paint, which most people don't have a lot of straight enamel paints, okay, but they're usually effects and such in this hobby, and then go to your enamel base coat, and then do your acrylic washes. So acrylic washes are available as well. I have some of them. They're made by Vallejo. So Vallejo offers an acrylic wash that I can use as well on top of enamel paints, so that way I'm not taking away my base coat or any other work I've done. So it's not just the base coat we're talking about. So if I'd done acrylics on my base coat, and then I started doing like rain marks and things like that, or chipping effects and things like that, were all done with enamels, I can go back to another layer of acrylic wash over top of that enamel detailing that I've done without removing that enamel detailing. Does that make any sense? Yeah. Okay, so there's that. We kind of talked about the wet palette. I showed you the pool noodle. I'm going to show you some things I have on my bench that make my job easier and the way I like to set it up. One of the things we talked about on the podcast last night was the dry brush sets that you can get. For this one is made by Golden Maple, and I love Golden Maple. You can find their stuff all over the place on Amazon. They make this dry brush set for when you're dry brushing, and for those that don't know what dry brushing is, I will talk to we'll do another show where we actually do some dry brushing. But this is a dry brush set. I have some more over here. I have a little container I keep all my prize brushes in, okay? Because these aren't cheap, but they hold up well. They give me the nice effect I need for my dry brushing. And then, of course, I keep my Winsor Newton number 7, series 7 in here, a 0 point with that, and this is a sable. These are a Kolinsky sable brush. They're not cheap, but I use them, and I keep them very, very, very nice and neat and clean. All of these are brushes I have in here are ones that I use for super fine detailing, the eyeballs and stuff like that on figures. Particularly high detailed pieces like a bolt or a nail head and things like that. So that's my specialty brushes. Always keep your specialty brushes away from all the other brushes. Let's take a view here. I got some brushes here in the back behind those specialty brushes. They're all different sizes. Some of them have finer tips, and there's filberts, and there's angle brushes, and all kinds of different brushes I need for different fan brushes and such. And then I have some of my smaller brushes that I use in here, and then of course my very fine brushes, and the ones that look like pens in the back. Those are, and we'll talk about them at a later date, those are the brushes that are used by your fingernail artists, okay? The super duper 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 fine brushes. They're fingernail brushes for when you go to a salon, or your wife goes to a salon, or girlfriend or boyfriend or whoever does their nails. But they have super super fine tip points on them. So I used to like keeping I had tons of racks on my bench, okay? So, these are junk brushes. I put all my big, heavy, fat junk brushes in here. They're for, like, putting on washes and putting heavy washes and things like that. Then, of course, I have more junk brushes over here in this bin on my side. But I used to have all the paints that I had were in racks on my workbench, but for me, they were for my little amount of space I got here, they were taking up a lot of space. So I instead turned them into. I bought wall racks that you can find on Amazon. You get like 8 to a pack for like $15. 8 15-inch wall racks, right? They're just straight plastic pieces. I drilled them onto the wall. Okay, but my paints go all the way up the wall. You can't even see them all up there because they're hidden. The light's not hitting those. But there they are. Okay, so these, I keep them all in order according to the manufacturer and what I need them for. Then I got my dry brush paints by Ammo MIG, along with Vallejo pigments, and of course these are liner paints. I got pigments over here from AK and Ammo, and then I've got, those are just dry pigments for dry. We'll show you how pigments work on that for those who don't know how to do that. I've got your specialty paints from both companies over here. They are your things like your washes, but your dust and dirt deposits and your rust effects and things like that, all over here. Earth effects and rust effects. And down here I got some mission model paints up on the top. And These are enamel liquid pigments that I'm working with. I haven't really done much with them yet. Brick dust and a bunch of things. It's something new. I haven't tried it yet. They're enamel liquid pigments. The shaders that are down below are made by Migamo, and they're wonderful for your airbrush and to give a different shade on top of your base coat and on the airbrush. They're just really cool to work with. And then over here we got streaking brush streakers and things like that. I got a bunch of them in a little container, and I keep all my oil paints up here. Okay, let them hang down so they're all my paints coming down towards the cap, and I don't have to wait for them forever. But these are all my oils, and I keep them up here on racks, and I can just take them down when I need them. They're on a hook, and then they pop right off the clip, and I can use them as I need them. Okay, safety glasses, some of my HO scale kits and stuff like that, and then I got my all my scenery material up here, and like I said before, these are kits that have to be built. So that's what I'm working with down here. I do keep some of my metal paints and specialty paints for uniforms and such over here and here. My AK acrylics. I keep a little bit of everything as far as little tiny Q-tips of all different types and sizes. I use them for cleaning out the airbrush. I use them for application stuff with paints and glues. I use them, the toothpicks as well. One of the things I've tried to do is go to the restaurant supply stores and buy these small cups. Don't buy the damn lids, just buy the cups. And you can buy them for like $2.99. You get like 200 of them in a pack, in a big long sleeve. And they're great for mixing paints in, and then just throw them away. You know, plastic cups, I can drink out of them, or the taller plastic cup, I can drink out of it, or I can fill it with paint. Okay, different glues and such I keep down here, pencils, pens, and I had to move my stuff over here. I normally keep my laptop right over here on this cutting mat. So I build on this cutting mat. Oh, can't turn it that way. I build on this cutting mat, and then I paint on this cutting mat. So all my builder tools are over here. Knives and cutters, or anything that cuts or scrapes, or wire brushes, that type of thing, that's all over here. Pencils and pens and such, and scissors up here in this rack. There's all my Tamiya paints we were talking about earlier. And then I've got a TV up here to keep me busy. And down below here, I have this IKEA. Actually, it's exactly like the IKEA. I got mine at Michael's. It's a giant rack of drawers, and we'll pull this back. And it has. I keep all my tools and such in these drawers. I made the dividers myself out of. I just glued them in with hot glue gun or your Eileen's tacky glue, and just cut this out of the thick poster board, okay, and not poster board, but whatever the foam board. So I cut the foam board to length, and I fit them in, and I have all my different tools and such in here. That's a little mini vacuum. These are parts for my static grass applicator, all kinds of tapes, and then I have stuff I haven't even filled in yet. There's a wood burning set. These are tools for molding, shaping clay and material, as far as your putties and things like that. These are materials to work with on those. More tape, and then I keep your basics down here, or screwdrivers and stuff like that I need to get real quick. Not part of my normal tool bench that I have somewhere else in the house. Here I have a regular workbench with tools. So I keep that stuff there. I got storage boxes down here. I got storage to my left and right with different things, and then up here I've got a whole storage bin with all kinds of more paints and tools and such like that. My podcasting equipment for when we do our podcast with my microphones. On this side, we've got on this side, I've got these are the tops of whiskey bottles. Here you go. Here's the top of a whiskey bottle. I believe this one is called Bowman Brothers whiskey. And you hold it. Remember before I used to do stuff on corks and I just hold the cork. Well, now I hold the cork and I put the two-sided tape on top and put my small detail part on, and I can manipulate it while I paint right on this. So I've been saving my whiskey tops as I finish the bottles off. Hey, and this happened over a course of a year, so it's not like I drank all these in a week. Okay, but, you know, so I got your Buffalo Trace, which I dropped on the floor. So, yeah, I got your Buffalo Trace, and, you know, these are all just different whiskey tops. So, I do that. I have my party speaker over here, and then I got a desk behind me. And the desk has more stuff, more chemicals. This whole thing holds small parts for our HO scale. Little detail parts and things are all in those drawers. And then on this shelf, I got some of my lacquer thinners and such I use for when I'm airbrushing. Over here, I've got glues and such like that. And then here we have my library of books and things. I'll use this goofy thing here is a wire tree I started making last week, and you'll get to see how that progresses as well. This is all my stuff I use immediately when I'm cleaning or working with my airbrush. So I keep all these things at hand, including these bottles that are used for. You'll find these bottles are called. They're for basically for. From what I understand, from the tattoo industry, from tattoo parlors, and when you spill them, stuff doesn't leak out. You know, when you drop it over, I don't have to worry about stuff coming out all over the place. So I have my acrylic cleaner and my acrylic thinner all in here. I homemade thinner and homemade acrylic cleaner. It works amazing. Here's my spray booth. So I turn my spray booth on to do my air spraying. We can turn that on for airbrushing. And it vents out, it pulls all the fumes out, and it sends it down underneath. I don't have it vent out of the house. It goes down here in this bucket with a filter on it. So I have that. This is the dog's bed. I got it out of the way, by the way, so we can do the podcast. It sits underneath the desk. But he comes in here and sits with me. But it's a Lowe's bucket with water on the bottom. The hose goes in, and then I have little holes on the top to let the air escape, and we put this fish filter over top of it. It's not down secure right now because the puppy keeps running off with it. And then he also, the granddaughter's chewed up the front of this desk. We used to have it in the family room, and now it is destroyed, so I brought it in here. And then I have these cabinet drawers. Let's turn that off. Oh, the airbrush compressor sits back here, and I've got all my airbrushes here to work with. And then over here, I've got, like I said, all my racks and containers that have just odds and ends and stuff in, you know. So, yeah, it's a lot, and I keep myself busy with it. And this is my favorite place to go. It's my hangout. So let's get you back on here. But it's where I hang out, you know, and this is it's my happy place. I can come in here and turn on any music I want right from my computer. I can go to my TV, watch whatever I want on my Roku, and then of course the music I can play full blast. It sounds like a concert out of my party speaker. It's great. This is it's nice and cool in here. I got more lighting that I don't even have turned on yet, because up top I have these two banks of lights up top here, which is are just shop lights. I have two of those, and I have one that I didn't even turn on yet. It's one of those ones that you put in your garage. Well, I took it in here and put it on that, and if I flang that up, there's another. If I flare that thing up from the light switch, there's another 6,000 or 7,000 lumens. plus this thing in front of me that I love. I have that on now, but it provides light right over top, and I can bend and shape it in any shape or form I want. So I have that, and then I have one here as well with the magnifying glass. I can pull down with this and right over top, and I can look down on whatever I'm working with. That is my shop. Now, one of the things that we're going to be doing is making videos. I have an actual 35mm camera and equipment with lights on little tripods that'll sit off to the side, and we're going to make some professional things. It's really hard to do that on a live version. I can't do that stuff on a live version because it's just it's too hard to work that way and get a good recording. So I've got this equipment, and we're going to be setting it up and putting it here on the workbench in different spots that I've already figured out, and we'll be making actual YouTube videos, so everybody knows what's going on that way. But I'm about wrapped up. I'm tired, and it's been a hot day, but I wanted to get back into this a little bit and show everybody what's going on. Oh, there's another thing up here. It's a neat to have. You can get that at Harbor Freight. It's one of those plastic racks with all they come off. They lift right out real easy. I fill them with popsicle sticks of different sizes for mixing and any type of mixing. More corks for putting little detail parts on and painting. I got sponges of all different kinds for sponge painting. Your pipettes in several different sizes. These are plastic spoons that I use for when I'm airbrushing, and I want to see what the color scheme is going to look like. So I'll paint it right onto the spoon. If I move this a little bit, we got more popsicle sticks. I got sponges not sponges. Well, they're sanding sponges and funnels and all kinds of goofy things to help me get my work done. These are sanding sticks. I got tons of sanding sticks, and I'll be popping up links on places to get this stuff cheap without having to spend a fortune. So that's where we're at. There wasn't a lot on here tonight. I'm sorry, but I wanted to be live and show you we're not dead here. We are very much alive and doing what we like to do. So I want you all to have a good night, and I'm out. Thanks for being here, and model on.